In this video, I'm going to tell you about how the website Etsy is not just for arts and crafts anymore. It's also for wargaming. Just going to start off and say that this is not a sponsored ad. Etsy's not paying me to say anything. I just, it's been interesting. So most of us are probably familiar with eBay, and you know that within wargaming, eBay is not a bad place to go look for either deals on relatively newish stuff. Maybe it's new in box, maybe it's just the sprues and not the box, easier for shipping, that kind of stuff. But there's lots of different things that you can get on eBay. You can also get stuff that's out of print, out of production, whatever. You can get bits, like I need just this one sword from this one guy. I'm going to scour eBay until someone finds, because people will buy kits of boxes and then separate all the parts and then sell them all separately to make a little bit more money than they would by just selling the box and stuff like that. It's been going on for a long time. I did a video years and years and years ago about eBay, and ciao, you could check that out if you weren't familiar. But it's been around, and it has. I've also recently started talking about Patreon. I did a video actually just a couple of weeks ago about that and how it's kind of going up against Kickstarter to some degree, in that it's a great place to go to get not so much products that are going to get shipped to you, but to get STL files for you to then print and then use as your miniatures in your armies, your squads, your warbands, whatever. Also terrain, like all kinds of different things. Ciao, you can watch that video as well. But there's another website that I personally have been using a good deal lately that is, it's called Etsy. You saw the title of the video. And for years and years and years, I've always just thought of Etsy as a place that you go to buy, scented candles and, like throw pillows that are fancy, maybe have something printed on them. But actually, as wargamers, we should be taking more of a look at Etsy. Etsy is not the type of website that sells, products that you would get necessarily on the shelf at your local game store. You don't go there to buy the newest stuff from Bolt Action or the newest stuff from Age of Sigmar or whatever, that kind of stuff. You go there very frequently to find stuff that is handcrafted or to some degree created materials that you will then buy. And like I said, it was originally started for the most part for arts and crafts. Again, the aforementioned scented candles and throw pillows with inspirational sayings on them. But now if you go to Etsy, just type in wargaming into the top bar up there. And when I do that, I find a lot of interesting things pop up. Right here in the first line, I see some, frankly, pretty amazing looking 3D printed resin figures. These, I think, are from Archvillain. And I'm looking forward to seeing more stuff coming out of them. But, the thing that's interesting is if you don't have a printer, like you can just get the stuff, like I mentioned earlier with the Patreon, from a company like Archvillain or from Titanforge or from Cyberforge or from, there's so many different people out there that are doing this now, like I mentioned. But you might not have a printer, or you might not have a friend with a printer, and so you go, well, now I'm just out of the loop. Well, many of these sculptors will also sell a license deal so that people can print them and then sell those prints on places like Etsy. So next thing I see on this line here are some pretty cool looking like outcroppings. There's a lot of terrain on Etsy, and you can get it very frequently. You get choices between I want it to be rocky terrain or desert terrain, or I want it to be this. And the paint jobs, you can also frequently get the stuff unpainted, so you can do the painting yourself. Very frequently save yourself a decent amount of money as well. Age of Sigmar base conversion adapters. You're playing old fantasy, right? Warhammer Fantasy, you had square bases on predominantly all your folks, and now, Age of Sigmar is all round. So with these little plastic doohickeys that you can buy from this person, I'm assuming they're probably 3D printed, you can just glue them on around the edges. Now you have round bases, you could throw on some extra facing stuff or whatever it is you want to do. But there's all kinds of little things like that. And that's just in the first line when I type in wargaming. A little bit further down the page, we've got some, I think, really interesting looking trees. I think they're 3D printed, and but you can get them from as little as here they are 3D printed to Here they are painted. Here they are. They have flock on them and leaves and all that kind of stuff, depending on how much you want to pay. Got some barbed wire defenses, depending on the game that you play. Very frequently, these things come in multiple scales, too. Like, they know that there's also 15 millimeter stuff out there, and it's not just all 28/32 millimeter stuff. And a bunch of different scatter terrain. I think that's kind of pretty interesting looking stuff. And, you know, again, sometimes you can get the stuff unpainted, save yourself some money. Other times, you can very frequently get the stuff painted as well. Also, and this is very interesting to me as a person who enjoys building terrain, there's a lot of things on here to help you build your terrain, not just be like, here's a piece of terrain now with the money. There's these really interesting little miniature basing kits, which are not exactly terrain, but it's a little piece of terrain that follows your little model around on the board. But you get not just the discs to actually use as the basing, but you also get the basing material, you get the flock, you get the little flowers, whatever, all that in one kit, which I think is pretty cool. You can get pre-cut MDF bases that are like in organic sort of shapes. So if you don't have a Dremel or something like that, you've got like a, maybe you live in an apartment and you don't have a place where you can do a bunch of sanding and sawing and doing all that kind of stuff, but you'd still like to have some nice looking kind of organically shaped sort of bases to be able to start gluing your stuff to so that you can start making terrain. Boom. You can get those things pre-cut and shipped to you on a place like Etsy. Not only, speaking of pre-cut, there's also pink XPS foam, that pink kind of foam that you put on the outside of your house if you live in a part of the country like I do. And people use it all the time for terrain and stuff like that. If you want to get little tiny, well, not tiny, but small bricks shipped to you so you don't have to cut them up, you can just pay money and get someone to ship you, 750 bricks, and build your own little ruined castles and things like that. So it's not all just, here's finished stuff, although there's plenty of that. There's also plenty of like, hey, we can take some of that work off your plate, and ship it to you. Beyond just models and terrain, there's also plenty of gaming aids, different things like tokens. So many tokens. Just type in Wargaming tokens to Etsy and see what you find. Did you ever want beer tokens? Did you know that you wanted beer tokens? Because now you know that you want little tokens that are technically like little tiny beer mugs that you can use to say, this guy's drunk, or whatever. I don't know. It's your game. You figure it out. But there's so many different things to skulls and this and that, laser cut, MD, whatever. It's so many different things to use as tokens in your game. If you like that kind of thing, which I do frequently myself, you've got a lot of options with these guys. And you might remember, I did some battle reports last year for Kill Team, and I had these dice, and they had the different symbols that you use in Kill Team, like, readied, charge, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And instead of having to put down a token for each one, it's just a 6-sider because it's 6 different tokens, and so you just set down the dice. And a lot of people in the comments on those videos, asked me where I got those from, and I got them. Well, I got them at a convention, but those people, Mr. Laser Shop, I'll put a link in the description. They sell them on Etsy, so that's a place that you can go if you want to get some sweet Kill Team dice, so that you know who hasn't shot yet and who's readied and all those different types of things. Some of the most recent things that I've gotten from Etsy are these cool texture rollers. These are 3D printed with like filament, not resin. And what they are is you take this, and when you're using that pink XPS foam, if you want to make it look like it's brick or stone or whatever, what you used to do is take a ballpoint pen and draw tiny little bricks or stone until you went insane, and then you painted it, frankly. But now you can just take a roller like this and put it on the pink foam and just ring, and then boom, you've got texture. And I bought a whole bunch. This is literally half of them, I think, that I bought just recently. And they also make a fun. But this type of stuff and so many other types of things that can help you build your terrain. I don't know. I just think it's really cool, and it's been honestly inspiring me to want to build more terrain recently. So you may have some preconceived notions about what Etsy is. You may be thinking scented candles, throw pillows. I've mentioned that a couple of times. But you also might be thinking, oh, it's just another version of eBay. And it's neither of those things. Okay, well, it is the scented candles. But for us in Wargaming, there's a lot going on there, things that you can find to make your boards look better, to get you 3D printed models that you just can't get printed anywhere else because you don't have a printer, you don't want a printer, you don't have any friends with printers, that kind of stuff. Or fun textures for making your terrain a lot easier so you don't go insane with a ballpoint pen on a piece of pink foam. And all these different things are really helpful in your hobby to get you further down the road. It can even be just as simple as like, I want to buy some trees that don't stink, like I've got some trees that are kind of terrible, and I feel bad when I put them on the table. Well, now I can go on to Etsy and just type in Wargaming trees and see pages and pages and pages of amazing looking stuff, buy some stuff, get it shipped to me, and then have a much better looking table. Makes me more interested to actually play the war games. So go to Etsy, type in Wargaming or type in the game you like, or whatever. You'll find tokens, you'll find terrain in different scales, you'll find everything that you possibly might want, stuff that you probably didn't even know that you wanted for your wargaming to make your hobby more interesting. It's not all just about buying a new kit or buying a new model. To really get yourself invested, I think, into wargaming is to sometimes take a look at it and go, I want something that's different than the normal stuff that I find in my shops. I want to find something that's a little bit interesting, or I want to find some helpful tools to make it so that I can build terrain and express myself a little bit more easily. So again, don't just think scented candles and throw pillows. Check out Etsy.